Use the current educational design within learning features. I recognise a lot of faces here who've been with us on this journey since the first review, and also great to see some new faces here as well. So I hope that you'll take away a few things for your own practice from the session.
Thank you. All right, so really quickly, if you don't know the people next to you, introduce yourself because you're going to work with them in just a minute. So I'll give you 30 seconds just to say hi to the people sitting next to So we wanted to start, we want you to pull out this this little journal that is in your folder, reflective journal. There's some questions on there. We're going to hope your lookout throughout the day. So what did I hear? What did I see? What do I think? How might I do these practices into my practice? So we're going to use this in just a minute. But what we want to do is quickly unpack the title of this presentation, so we're all sharing the same construct here. So if we look at, I told you that. So if we look at the student-centered learning, and if you were to Google that, there'd be thousands of definitions of what student-centered learning is. So what I'd like for you to do is take a minute, reflect to yourself without talking. So reflect. What does that mean to you? And then connect to somebody sitting beside you. That's the part that you're going to work with that person. And then I want you, after you've had that discussion, open up your booklet on the first page. What does this mean to you? Go ahead and just jot down. What does student-centered learning mean to you? So a minute of reflection, then connect, and then define. We'll come back together and share in about 3 minutes. All right, go ahead. What's so quiet, you guys? Actually, doesn't get to reflect. Very good. All right, so once you have that done, go ahead and connect with someone next to you and share your definitions. Unless you've done it already twice.
Yeah. In many ways, using my experience what they need to kind of succeed in those skills. I like a lot of things in the presentation that it's not just about so if you come into our course, it's not just about the issues, it comes to 6 or 7 other things.
To see how far
yeah, in some ways, yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. I would say it's more about finding it interesting, especially somebody's parents. You don't necessarily have a life we Those sorts of skills that go to tag. One of the things that we want to say our challenges is to show the it's pretty good. So, one of the first things we do first is say,
All right. Who would like to share how you define student learning? Who would like to share how their partner or you or group or table defined it?
Okay, so between Checker and I, we have actually two different perspectives. So the student's perspective and the academic's perspective, which we think both are important. From the student's perspective, that it's individualised and that there's autonomous learning pathways along there. But from an academic perspective, that we have to think about what students need, what the learning outcomes are, and what their future direction is to make sure we design good educational experiences that meet accreditation.
All right, thank you. Back here, did you have your hand up to share?
I was going to.
Well, that's good. That's all right. So we all know there's not one definition, so please share with us your thoughts on it.
Oh no, I like this.
Okay, that's all right. Anybody else want to share with us? All right. So we've got the student centered. We all know that as part of Griffith 2020, student centered is a part of that whole initiative and the language around that. So we're thinking about that, and everything that we do is addressing that, the program level design we're working on, our course redesign that we're working on. So we want to make sure that even when we're talking about a technology, maybe especially when we're talking about technology, that we're not focusing on the technology. We're focusing on the students, because that's what it's all about. So what I want to take a bit next is to unpack what is this personal learning environment. So you said, well, Heidi, it's called e-portfolios in Griffith. Why are you saying personal learning environment? Well, the point of that is because there is this migration and verbiage around this. And Helen Barrett, a fellow American, who's been working in e-portfolios for decades now, has this that she was talking about in terms of connecting the two. And I really liked that she's saying what the personal learning environments, and that it might replace the electronic portfolios or the e-portfolios. So that puts the connection there. So let's take a little bit first at e-portfolio. So let's click. So what is an e-portfolio? And again, as we know with all these terms, if you Googled it, there would be a bazillion definitions of what an e-portfolio is. So this, the first about a minute, 24 seconds of this video has a nice sort of explanation of what a... If you click on the video, it's linked. So just copy. You can copy the URL and put it into Chrome, and it'll go to it. Sorry about that, folks. You want me to do it?
It's hard watching people operate.
Okay. All right. So this gentleman is from Elon University, which actually happens to be in my home state of North Carolina.
Have you signed into the local?
Okay, well, we're gonna, that's okay, we'll just skip that, because you're gonna need the internet for later. Okay. That's right. So anyway, this is, yeah, that's okay. It's okay, we'll modify and adjust. So basically, and the link is there, we're gonna share this, this PowerPoint with you as well. But basically, he was talking about a study that's been going on with 22 universities and the uses of e-portfolios as that repository. But they were also getting at is that it looks at program level and going over time and how the engagement the students have with that over time. And I think that connects in nicely with what Beverly was saying, is that an e-portfolio isn't something that you would do at the end just, but it's something that you create and work through without. And that's where it's going to become important when we start talking about the personal learning environment. So let's go ahead and click through. And just so we knew we're going to have technical difficulties, so here's the text-based definition of e-portfolio from another source. And I know, because when the moment I stepped on the ground here at Griffith, that people have been using e-portfolios within Griffith for years and perfecting those. People have been wanting or talking about having a system that they could use at an enterprise level. So I know this idea about e-portfolio is not new to you folks here at Griffith, us at Griffith. So let's go to the personal learning environment. And why am I saying, and why are we putting in the title, personal learning environment? Because it's more than just an e-portfolio, and that is what the tool, particularly the PebblePad that we selected, has the ability to leverage multiple different tools, one of which is e-portfolio, but a lot of which has to do with teaching and learning, reflective practice, looking at things over time. So this is a definition that's just being floated out there again. There's many, and also with the personal learning environment, and teacher's going to share this in a minute, doesn't just have to be PebblePad. What PebblePad can do is be an aggregator of what the students and what we are as academics are doing across all of our lives. So yeah, lifelong, life-wide, and collecting those together with integration into things like Google Drive, integration with Dropbox, and different tools, and more than our students could actually think of. They can come up with other ways of connecting them. So what we're going to go through is Deidre's going to talk about some of the tools there and the student-centered experiences we can provide our students with those tools. Before we go on to that, were there any questions, discussion about e-portfolios versus personal learning environments? Does somebody want to sort of capture that for us, what the differences, Andrew?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a slightly different question, but the relationship between that personalised learning environment and Blackboard, and so are you able to say what the similarities and differences there?
Sure. So they support one another. So we we'll have integration with Blackboard in that one of the ways that you can use the tools within PebblePad is to create these, we'll go more into it, customized workbooks, templates, ways to reflect. And so as the academic, you can create those and they can access them right from your course. And you can also do many, many other pieces of the community assessment kind of thing that feed back into the Mark Center within Blackboard. So Blackboard remains the central point, the repository, but you can create scaffolded learning experiences that they can go and use within PebblePad that can feed and go back and forth. So it's a nice complement to that. In addition to that, it offers students, because they actually own their account, they can then create e-portfolios, resources, content for any other part of their life. So it's a place within the PebblePad system that they can collect all that. So they support each other nicely, I would say that. Now, does anybody else, Allison's here, Karen, do you have a question?
Sure, I'd like to say a broader kind of
Please.
between a personal learning environment and a learning management system.
Excellent.
Personal learning environment is self-managed. It's what you as a student create for yourself and use for yourself to do your learning. And a learning management system is more designed and controlled. So that's where I see the difference between the two.
And the intersection is in this space where we can create experiences for our students that we can share with them and that they can work through in there, but it is that student-centered. Yeah. So there's a sort of, it's like a Venn diagram kind of piece at the intersection. Thank you. Yes.
He actually goes with Andrew's question, I think. We have Blackboard and have the e-portfolio. In my understanding, might be wrong, but the e-portfolio is a tool they can actually collect the things they want to share now or later on. But we can use it as academics, e-portfolio, to give assessments for all of the students.
Certain types of assessment, so not quizzes and tests like you do in Blackboard, it's more of a, yeah.
But there is not a risk of actually overusing the portfolio or actually like collecting things that they are not necessary. If you're collecting the reflective part of the assessment in the portfolio, not necessarily the students they want to share that, only the good ones.
Right, so students can collect, and we as academics and we as staff, not just academics, all staff, we can collect whatever we want within our space, within our personal learning environment. Okay? We can collect videos, we can collect pictures, we can collect documents, and we can then decide, all users can decide who sees what, when, and where. So as an academic, if you want to leverage, and she's going to show us some of the tools, if you want to leverage the interactive workbooks or the templates for reflection, you can create those and share them with your students and say, okay, this is a part of assessment and a task I want you to do. But at the same time, students can be collecting resources around graduate attributes. We're going to do an initiative in that starting in T2 next year. Some people in the different groups are already working on that, so there's a lot already going on in that area. So the students can collect whatever they want. We as professionals can collect whatever we want, and then we decide what we show to different people. So an example that would be is if you have a first-year student who is end of 2 semesters and they want to get a job for in summer. Okay, so employability is not just at the end, it's all throughout, as we know. I could, as a first-year student, say, oh, I can bring in information about the jobs I had when I was in secondary school. I can bring in any information or insights that I think that I've gained in my first year, and I can say to the people I'm going to employ, create an interface, a public interface, that question came up, I can create a public interface that showcases just the pieces I would want them to see. I don't want them to see, oh, my first try, my first draft at something. You know, I want to keep that because I want to see how I progress. I might use that for peer commenting and peer review, but I can decide who I show what to. And if I'm applying to a summer camp program or if I'm applying to an internship, all different contexts, I can show that information in different ways to these different contexts. You can pick and choose, and you also can design the interface to look differently for each one of those contexts. And we as academics can do the same thing. We as staff can do the same thing, all of us. We all have access to it. And our alumni have access as well.
Whatever.
So this is an interesting piece for if we end our contract for 3 years post that contract.
Oh, right.
After that, it costs $20 for an annual for them to keep that content, 20 or 40?
Yeah, it's 45 a year or 93.
Okay, so then they can keep the content, but at any time they can download if they wanted to switch over to a different system. But 3 years, if we say, we're not doing this anymore, at least 3 years, and they get warnings and kinds of things. All right, so are we live? Okay.
So just to recap, I mean, just drawing some of the things from the discussion so far. So at purpose, so the university has chosen CONNECTPLUS, as Deborah described. So it's really a platform for our students and our staff to use as part of their personal learning environment. And when we talk about personal learning environment, in CONNECTPLUS, there are a range of tools which I'll show you, okay, that you can use to create, share, and connect with people, with the curriculum, and also to connect our student experience. So you can also, as Heidi mentioned, you can also aggregate other resources out of the cloud from, say, Google Drive, from Dropbox, or whichever tools that the students choose to actually aggregate inside that space. So, I guess this is forward from here, this is a really, really great time for us to really connect all of that. So, our resources, our learning and teaching community, as well as our students, in new ways. So, we're hoping that that you'll join us on this journey over the next year or so.
3 years.
3 years.
So go back to that. I just want you to know that we are trying to purposefully use the Be Remarkable page here. So, okay, so that's the leap in. If we're trying to come up with meaning, how do we use these images? So I want you to leap with faith or jump into the unknown world if you're
So I'll
there.
step back and say.
And we were good doobies, we did have the right font, but this system, this computer took it away, but anyway, go ahead.
So as I mentioned, like there's a range of tools within PurplePad that we can use to power our student-centered learning here at that group. So I'll just quickly go over some of them. So there are templates within PurplePad itself. There are some inbuilt templates, but there's also inbuilt functionality for you to actually create custom templates. So you can look at the range of learning activities that you can use in there as some examples.
So let's say we have several people in here have been and looking at others. Does anybody else who knows, have an example of what template or the use of that tool for students in their learning that they might want to share? And doing some thinking on that? Yes.
This is my area, but work integrated learning and supervisor reports back and forth. The supervisor can actually even enter their signature into this template. So it's a really good way to monitor work integrated learning and what's going on. And students can then also use journal templates for self-reflection on what they're learning or part of their assessment.
Beautiful, thank you. Any others? Karen has an idea. Let's let Karen, then Robert.
And there's a SWOT analysis template, so if you're ever doing SWOT analysis activities with students, there's a standard template for that.
Okay, Robert?
I was just going to make the point that you can have used a PebblePad custom default template. For instance, there's a template for structured reflection which has about 5 different fill-in-the-box areas, and that's a fairly generic template. If that doesn't quite meet your need, you can build your own custom template that might have a very specific question for the course or activity that you're undergoing. It's still a reflection and it's still a template, but it's customised to exactly what you want the students to think about. So you've got flexibility. You can use the custom generic, the generic customised one.
I think that's important. You don't have to start from scratch.
Right.
So for those of you who are thinking like I have to build everything, not necessarily. There are set templates in there, Karen was saying SWOT analysis, reflection. There's tools in there for you to connect your professional standards against different things that they create within that space. We also have workbooks. Workbooks, if you think of a workbook, the concept, and you can actually connect a whole bunch of templates and other tools within PebblePad to create a workbook. So Tiana mentioned like the work integrated learning experience while they're outside on placement. Within that workbook, you can have a series of activities that you want your students to do while they're out of placement. To show you as a reason.
And if you're interested in that in particular at the program level, Duncan McConnell's session in the afternoon is talking about the use of workbooks in work and placement. His is paramedicine, but the ideas are transferable to any content area. So second set of workshops he's going to be sharing that.
So there's another Priscilla from University of Sunshine Coast, where they've actually looked at group work and within their context.
And specifically looking at the graduate attributes as
Yes.
well, but using a workbook, again, that interactive workbook that is created and guiding them.
And that's one of the things that we have a whole, we also have reflected a lot of use cases for the different contexts that you might be actually interested in for your program or your course.
And that website is the same website that where she's talking about. We're going to post that listing to the same website where all the PowerPoints will be, and that's where it's going to be. We'll send it out to everybody, but it's where you registered. That same one, we're just converting that in and adding the PowerPoints there, but we'll send that link out to everybody. Anybody, can you go back? So around these interactive workbooks, again, leveraging different experiences we have in here. Anybody have an example that they want to share about the workbook, Sean?
Just I've worked with some other academics who teach in teacher placement
Mm-hmm.
when the students go out. So obviously they have some pretty heavy structures around workbooks and things that they need to complete. What my question initially was is for students to collect information. So obviously taking photos of scenarios, sort of evidence-based stuff. Just I'm guessing you'll get to that a bit later on, but just how that sort of factors into your portfolio.
Well, we can say it right now. So there's a mobile app called Pebble Pocket. In Pebble Pocket, students can take images, write notes to themselves, so take little videos, any of that. And then even if they're online, which happens many in school environments, but also in hospital environments and other environments, when they go back in, they can then upload them. So they can do it offline and then upload. So what they can do is collect as much content as they want.
Yeah.
And once they have it uploaded into their space, their asset, their sort of repository, they then can connect out. They can tag it and connect it to multiple different opportunities. So there is that way to collect that evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, for those in the health and education sector, of course, the students have to be mindful of the privacy implications of taking.
Well, and that's, yeah, so the same thing would be in medicine and others. Yes, go ahead, Kim.
I just had a thought about student-centered learning. Because students can create different stuff in their repositories, or academics can set a piece of assessment, put this into your portfolio or Pebble Pad. Peer-assisted learning, so it's fabulous for that, because students can create work. They can then choose who's going to be able to see it. Their peers can then provide feedback that way. So it's a great for all different types of learning activities.
Thank you.
Is there a space, just because with regards to some of the journalism students, so they do a unit for radio, a unit for television, a unit for news production, and then they do internships where they're creating portfolios of work, and some of the media is the size of the media files is quite extensive. Is that something that's going to be an impact?
So we did not. So we've talked to, because we also have the film school and all these other things. We have an enormous amount of storage. If it were to become an issue, it'd be an institutional issue. You do need to remember is that PebblePad is not a streaming service.
Yep.
So students who want others to have a solid experience in terms of streaming the video, they may want to publish that on an external site and then link to that, which you can do. So you have to always remember that when you're talking about audio or video files. It's not a streaming service. You could upload them and it would play, but it's not going to be as good an experience as if they had uploaded those files into a streaming service. We have an institutional amount of data that we have. There's no gap for this, no limit for a particular student. So we will be monitoring that, particularly really closely because we're so new, completely new to this, and seeing how that is running. But right now, we don't think we have to worry about the amount of storage. Just considerations of the experience.
I think it is really important to perhaps not see PebblePad as a repository for everything, especially big videos and all of that. There are lots of other video hosting services that, depending of course on the content of the video and how personal or private or that it might be, but you wouldn't necessarily put everything in PebblePad. You might put it on a different hosting service and link it, rather than all going into the system.
That's good to know when we're setting up how to do the course.
Yeah, absolutely. There are all things to think about, because
And it's also it's a great opportunity for them to start using tools and professional practice in that space that they will probably,
Yeah, but we're doing for students, and no matter how many times you say save your work, they come back, oh, I did review in 2011, can I still get my training?
Well, and that is the advantage, so I really appreciate you bringing the point. This is longitudinal, and the advantage of having a platform, an environment like this, is that it goes across all the courses. So the students can create, and even if they don't upload the video, they can create a page that has the link, that has the reflection about that, so that link is live, that's there, and they can go and find it over time. And that's really the key to this, so it's outside of the course by course structure. Kiana?
Just another example, the urban planning students create massive projects where they design cities, etc. And so some of their files are massive. So, and they've been using e-portfolios for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, but they create them in the public weekly or weekly, so we haven't had an institutional platform, and they need to look good, but they connect those files, links out to external storage to be able to build a portfolio.
Right, and that's what's nice about the connection into Dropbox too, and into Google Drive.
Yeah. So we've already mentioned Pebble Puppet. So it's the download, the students can download it for free for either an iPhone or any Android phones. So there's, Tiana mentioned, some people mentioned in the work integrated learning context where they're out of placement. So there are some set templates in there where students can collect all sorts of different artifacts. And the great thing about Pebble Puppet is that, say for example, if they're out in the workplace and they actually don't have Wi-Fi, they can actually capture it on their phone. And then when they get back to connect to the cloud, they can then actually add that to their PebblePad space. So another one thing that I think people were quite excited at the review was the ability for workplace supervisors to sign off on documents. So depending on your context and how much identity of the supervisor is important, you have that ability for students, for workplace supervisors to verify an activity that the student has undertaken.
Through a signature, so they can actually use their finger and create. So now we all know how much those look like our actual signatures, but that piece is there.
Yeah, so that's just there. So we've had just one of the use cases in a medical program that we visited at the University of Liverpool. So this is like where they're collecting artifacts against professional standards, etc., while they're out on clinical practice. And there's a lot of other cases where it's been used very successfully to do that.
And just so you can look at this site right here, right up there, it clicks on, it says community. One of the important things, so don't click on it because you're not looking, but everybody's going to have access to that community of users. And this, I think, is the community within Australia. Is this true? When we know the community, it's the global. So I've been in this education business for a while, gone to a lot of professional conferences, a lot of different conferences. This is the most collaborative group of users that I have ever witnessed in any content area, technology area. They are very much about sharing. And so even when you go onto this website, you'll be able to see lots of different examples of what's possible. And those people are those people. And I hope that we as Griffith would come back in and contribute back into that same community and that same spirit. But truly, we're all going to be a part of that larger community. So let's go ahead and wrap up if we could, Ginger. So what you have in your, this is just not, so.
This is
Yeah.
in the arts context as well, just really, really quickly. So we refer to medicine. It's also a powerful tool for arts and design as well. So.
And it has e-portfolios. So we're not saying e-portfolios aren't important. We're saying that this platform that we have gives us more than that, but it also does e-portfolios very well. So it gives us all these other interactive workbooks, templates, and is a powerful tool for students and ourselves for the e-portfolio piece.
So you can see there's different purposes in there in terms of the types of e-portfolios that you can actually use there. So if you want that e-portfolio to focus on the learning journey for a particular thing, or it could be a showcase e-portfolio, could be a career one, which Heidi mentioned before, that it's about them developing an idea of their area and then where they want to go in terms of their career trajectory. You can also use it for projects and also group projects as well. And of course, if it's important for your program or your course, where they need to evidence examples of extracurricular activities that actually contribute to the learning outcomes of your program or course, that is also possible.
They also can do that ignoring us completely. So students are going to be able to access through My Griffith and create an account, and they can start creating e-portfolios and in their program never mention them once. Now, I think Dr. Hinley would be a bit sad if that were the case, but it's true because again, this is an environment owned by the students. So they can go in, they can create a web page for an extracurricular group that they're working in, because basically the e-portfolios are web pages, and so they can do all that independent of anything we ask them to do.
So there are the examples that, just different examples of this kind.
So what we'd like for you to do is, in your booklet there, if you could just think about any of the ideas that you heard. What might you be able to use within a course or within your program, in your group? So if you're on the academic side, but even if you're working in careers and employment, I know Tana, you've already been thinking about that a lot. But go ahead and just take a few minutes, write down some notes, and then we'll just share some of those ideas out before we go to lunch.
So I'm just thinking well, no,
I don't want you to be the last to the table, so I want to point out something. We did have a question, is when do we get access to this? Well, 2018, no. So actually, the contract is we're in the final pieces of that. So our goal is December 1st, but we have some opportunities before then. And so in your packet, you have an information piece, one which is called Personal Learning Environment Innovators Program. So there's 2 ways to get involved starting next week, and you can read about that. So that one is to people that are program leaders. If you want to think about how you can use this within your program, you can register your interest in that. This is actually online within a calendar invite as well, so you don't have to type in those URLs. There's also a course convener innovators group. So if you think, oh, my program might be going that way, but I'm ready to go now, you can come in as a course convener and work that. Now, these are going to be in collaboration with the group's L&T unit, so with the blended learning advisors and educational designers, so they will know and be there to support you as well as Learning Futures. So if you have an interest, these are actually starting next week, the information sessions. I encourage you to come to those. They're at Nathan and at the Gold Post, so you don't have to travel here to the Gold Post visit. So I encourage you that. If you have any particular questions, you can also email me. I'd be glad to discuss that. As well as on the back of your reflective journal, there's information. So on the back right here, you can see that we're going to also have some informational webinars. And basically, we're going to just show you a bit and then take your questions as well. So those are more opportunities for you to learn, and then we'll share out the resources on the website. Thank you. Coming also and connecting into this is we have a new tool Explore coming out of Learning Futures. which is where we're going to start collecting and make accessible to you stories that different folks are developing out in the field. So I know some people are already using e-portfolios, as you're going to see examples of. So we're going to start collecting your stories. So we have lots of examples for other universities. We'll also have examples from Griffith too. So as you're thinking about and you're working through things, let us know if you'd like to share your story. Students are officially going to get access in February for T1. We do have a couple programs that are doing some overseas traveling, and so we might use it with them prior to that. But officially, students are starting, and they'll be able to access it through MyGriffith in T1. So, those are those important pieces of information. Any general questions with 1 minute to go? Or any overall questions? I'll be glad to stay here and answer any questions. On your paper, there's also a place for key takeaways. So in your booklet on the first page, key takeaways, if you take just a minute, what's one thing that you can take away from this session that might impact your practice? We know that if we write that down, we're likely to stick to it and then stick it into our minds. So, all right, thank you very much, and so excited to start this journey with you. All right.